Clutch Trucker is filmed before a live studio audience. And see, now he's groomed now. And he's so much purtier. Right, Rusty? Look in the camera. Oh, look in the camera. Yeah, PetSmart does a pretty good job. Clutch Trucker now with injector cleaner and cetane boost. The subject of today's video is twofold. It is tire update on my new steers and best shock value. Okay, so if you watched my part 1 on my steer tire thing where I was talking about a good alignment can save you money on tires, and I was talking about how I had to buy new steer tires a little bit before I had really planned to. Now that I have a good alignment, went ahead and got them, and a little bit of history, this is the second least I've ever paid for a set of steer tires. It was a good deal overall. Only $836 out the door, mounted, balanced, valve stems, the whole deal. $836 because I got $45 casing credit on one tire, and I got $65 credit on the other tire. So that's kind of unheard of to get a new set of steer tires installed and everything for only just over $800, $836, not bad. I only paid for steer tires less one time for brand new tires, and that was when I got a set of Uniroyal steers. I had some Uniroyal drives on this truck. They did pretty good. I think I got 240,000 miles out of those things. So they had the steer tires on sale at Sapp Brothers in Council Bluffs, Iowa. And I had some Sapp Brothers points racked up. Also, I had just had Michelin steers. So I got 200,000 miles out of those Michelin steers, and they were still in good shape. They hadn't been cupping or wearing unevenly or anything. So I got full credit for those tires. I think they gave me, what, like $100 to $150 per tire trade-in for those Michelins. So that combined with the discount with my points at Sapp Brothers and the fact that they were on sale, I got out the door with a set of steers, Uniroyal steers, for only $500. Now for that price, I was telling the guy when he was installing them, I said, hey, if I get 70,000 miles out of these steers, I'll be happy with them. I ended up getting about 140, which isn't bad. Now the tires I just had to replace, they were a top tier tire. They were a Bridgestone. Uniroyal is a third tier tire. It's Michelin's third tier. They have Michelin, BF Goodrich, then Uniroyal. Bridgestone has Bridgestone, Firestone, and then Dayton, okay? This time I've got the Firestone. Last time was Bridgestone, but I only got 140,000 out of those. And I paid a lot more for them. I paid $950 for the tires alone, plus installation, balancing, and all that. It was at least $1,200 by the time I was all done. Usually, if you want a top tier tire, you're going to pay somewhere between $1,200 and $1,400 for a set of steers. But like I say, the reason I tried those Uniroyal steers is because they were so damn cheap. $500, that's basically one tire for a top tier, and I did get some decent mileage out of them. Then I went to the Bridgestone, only got about 140,000 miles out of them, but watch my video about the alignments can save you money on tires, and you'll find out why. I should have probably gotten at least another 20 to 40,000 miles out of those tires. So, like I say, this time I did they had the Firestones on sale this month right now. It's March 9th, they're still on sale at TA's and Petros. They got a really good price on those. I think they're running about $329 for the steers. That does not include the FET, so you add about another $24 to that. So right around $353 for a steer tire, a tier 2 steer tire, which is a good deal. Like I say, then I got $45 back on one tire, $65 back on the other tire. So once I had them mounted, balanced, and you should always balance steer tires, drivers, always. Like I say, $836 out the door, not bad. Now I have some video, and I can show you after they took off the old steers, and it's lined up next to the new steers, you can see the difference. Okay, here you can see my old steer tire, and those inside ribs are almost the height of the outside ribs, the bigger flat ones, because they were worn down pretty good, 140,000 miles on them. And right there you can see where that outside rib, that channel in between, is almost non-existent. And on the other side, which I haven't shown here, it was worn down all the way. Now compare that to the new tire they're about to put on. They've already mounted it on the wheel, and look at that one. That one has got very deep tread, and this, like I say, is the Firestone FS 507 Plus. It's considered a steer or all-position tire, and you can see how deep the tread is compared to the tread on my steer tire that they just took off. Yeah, like you can see there, the tread pattern is very different. The Michelin steers I had, the tread pattern actually is much more similar to the tread pattern I have now on these new Firestones. Those Bridgestone steers, they had a very different looking tread pattern. Those big flat, wider ribs on there. So I'm kind of interested to see how these Firestones are going to do, since they seem to have a tread pattern that resembles more like the top tier Michelin tread pattern. There's one little difference though. These Firestone steers are, it's model number 507 Plus, FS 507 Plus. It's labeled as a steer tire, but it's also labeled as an all-position tire, meaning you could use these for drives, you could use them for trailers if you wanted to, and because it's an all-position tire, actually it has a deeper tread depth than your standard steer tire, so that might just work out for me a little bit longer in the end and give me greater mileage out of them. It just remains to be seen. So, like I say, I had to change them out because, you know, you get the wrong DOT guy on the wrong day and he might give you some crap about the way those were wearing unevenly and so forth. And it was a good deal, because if you can get out the door $836 for a new set of steer tires, that's a pretty damn good deal. So if you are still in this month of March of 2020 and are needing, looking like maybe you need some steer tires, see if you can still go get that deal from TAs and Petros. Not too bad at all. Oh, and did still want to mention, yeah, I did. So far they've drive real nice. I've driven all the way from Kingman, Arizona, all the way across I-40, and here I am in Lebanon, Tennessee. And I've been liking how they've been rolling along. They feel real good. They seem to have very good control on the steer. I'm liking them so far, but any new tire is going to feel pretty good. So, and yes, then I did also have my new steer shocks put on, and that's what's leading us to the next part of this video. Okay, as shock absorbers go, they all wear basically about the same, and you've got two different kinds of shock absorbers, basically. One, your oil-based shock, and two, your gas-charged shock, okay? They operate a little bit differently, but they both, you know, give you what you need. It was just so your axles aren't going blah, 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 down the road, all right? I have found if you can get the right kind of gas-charged shock, especially on your steers, I think they ride a lot better. Like I say, once I just got these new steer tires put on, I've had a set of gas-charged shocks in my side box, waiting to put them on. I just hadn't gotten to them yet. I've got my own impact, so I can do them myself if I need to. But once I got the steer tires put on, went ahead and put those on, and I can tell you, those replaced a set of oil-based shocks, and they do ride better because if you ever buy a set of gas-charged shocks, when you pull them out of a box, they have that little kind of a zip tie thing on them to keep them from expanding. They always want to keep expanding, where an oil-based shock does not do that. You can push them and there should be resistance, but they don't always want to keep expanding. Because the gas-charged always want to keep expanding, especially on a steer position, they're always trying to keep your steers down on the road. And I found, in general, those tend to ride better. Now, there are huge differences in the brands of shocks. That's what we'll go into next. Okay, now as I said in my previous video about changing shocks, anytime you change your tires, you should change your shocks. Steers, you're going to be doing between 100 to 200,000 at most. I still believe 100 to 150,000 is about all a shock is good for. Since I just changed out my steers at 140,000, 148 actually to be exact, it was time to change the shocks. I had those with me that I got a good deal on in Nampa, Idaho. They're Alliance shocks. They're Alliance gas-charged shocks. And I put those on, like I say, been real happy with how those, along with my new steers, are performing. And they were only 40 bucks a piece. $40 a piece. That's one of the cheapest parts you can buy for your truck. Okay? And they're really going to help save your tires and save you money on the tires. Now, I've had them all. I've had all the majors. I've had Monroe. I've had Gabriel. I've had Alliance. I've had Sachs. S-A-C-H apostrophe S. Okay? They all perform fairly similarly, except for Monroe's. Something happened to Monroe about 2.5, 3 years ago. Monroe's used to be a really good shock. They're the yellow ones. They have their own color. But I went through 3 sets of steer shocks from Monroe in the course of 3 months. Yeah, they kept blowing out, completely blowing out. And when there's oil all of a sudden dripping all down the shock and it's all black and everything, you know you've blown them out. You pull them off and you can play it like a freaking accordion. Yeah, you've blown them out. 3 sets of Monroe shocks blew out in 3 months, and I said I would never buy Monroes ever again. So, okay, what do you do about that? Now, of course, most TAs and Petros only sell Monroes, and they're going to charge you like $89, $90 or so. Sometimes they'll have them on sale for $79. Ooh, there's my light again. Don't try to save me too much money, TA. But they're actually a pretty good bargain for getting them put on because they have a set price. But don't buy them from a TA or Petro, they're too much. The shocks that came on this truck were Freightliner shocks, of course. But do Freightliner, do they make their own shocks? No, they don't. Who makes the Freightliner branded shocks? Sachs. S-A-C-H-S. You can go to a Freightliner and buy the Freightliner stamped shocks and pay $90 to $120 for each of them. Or you can buy the Sachs for a third of the price. It's the same shock, same company. Little secret, you learn crap like that over the years, drivers. This is my 3rd truck, okay? The Sachs are pretty good. Most of their shocks are oil-based shocks. I think maybe they do sell some gas shocks, but I've never tried the gas shocks from Sachs. I've only tried the oil-based ones, but they're pretty good. The ones that were on my steers before that were Sachs oil-based shocks, and they lasted a good year, okay? So they're not too bad. When I was going through Nampa, Idaho, last spring, I knew I was about to get new drive tires, so I wanted to get new shocks. The Western Freightliner Nampa, Idaho had Alliance gas-charged drive shocks on sale for I think about like $40 a piece. Not bad at all. So I bought a set of 4. When I got my new Bridgestone drives on, I had the new shocks put on. I really like how they perform. Because like I say, they're always trying to push themselves out. That means they're always trying to push the tires against the road. And I really liked how those drove, so that's why not too long ago I got those gas-charged steer shocks, which I have just now put on, and I'm happy with how those are performing. And those were $40 a piece for the steer shocks. Really good value. Now, another option is if you can't find the Alliance or the Sachs, Gabriels are pretty good. I've been pretty happy with Gabriels. I don't think they last as long as the Sachs or even the Alliance that I've had so far, but they're pretty good. They're a hell of a lot better than the Monroes, and they would be a good option for you. I've got a set of Gabriels on my trailer, and they seem to be performing pretty well. It's probably about time for me to replace those, but so far they've been doing pretty good. So I would say Sachs, they're pretty good value for the money. Alliance, very good value for the money, especially the gas-charged ones. Gabriel's, good value for the money. Monroe, run away! Run away! And like I said earlier, the Freightliner stamped shocks are really Sachs. That's who makes them for them. So I know the truck center companies, Lincoln, Omaha, Sydney, Nebraska, York, Nebraska, they sell those Sachs shocks for around mid-40s. Whether you want steers or drives, good value for those. Like I say, the Alliance shocks I found at the Western Idaho Freightliner in Nampa, Idaho, in low 40s to mid 40s for your steers or drives. I found those to be very good. Gabriels, I know Sapp Brothers in Cheyenne, Wyoming, they sell the Gabriels that they put on my trailer. And again, they were around, mid 40s, not too bad. Monroes, they want way too much for those shocks, and they suck. They suck. I don't know what the hell happened to them 2.5, 3 years ago, but they really took a crap. So run away from the Monroes. All right, so that's my quick roundup on the shocks. And if you're an owner-operator like me and you're having to buy your own, then you want to get the best value. And if you're like me, just go to Home Depot. I ordered my Impact, an electric Ryobi Impact online, so I can change out my own shocks if I need to. I can change out my steer shocks really easily. It's 2 bolts, guys. It's not hard to do. You just need an impact driver. And my Ryobi electric charged one that's battery operated works just fine, and I can change out my own shocks. Look into that if you're an owner operator. Next time I buy new trailer shocks, I'll probably do them myself. If I'm going through Idaho again, I'll say, hey, I've got these Gabriels on here. Give me the cross reference for the Alliance. I'll buy a set. Then when I'm home and have some time, I'll pull out the Impact and I'll just swap them out on my own. Like I say, I always, in my opinion, 100 to 150,000 miles is about the longest I think a shock absorber is good for. Some people run them 200,000-300,000 miles. I don't think you should. They're cheap, and if that's going to help you save your tires and you're running down the road better and smoother, why not? So as always, just trying to help you owner-operators out mainly who have to buy your own stuff. And you know, if nothing else, you company drivers, this gives you some good information. If all they have is Monroes and you keep blasting them out and they keep blowing out on you, well, you know, maybe that's why. Maybe you should look into trying to find someplace that has something different, all right? So, hope this helps somebody. If not, I hope this was at least entertaining. I try to make my videos entertaining. I came from a radio background, so I try to at least edit them down and mainly go for content. Why not? And speaking of that, I just did an unboxing of my Ultimate Purple cushion the other day, and I said I'd have to run it longer to really get a better feel for it. I've run for 2 more long days with it, and so far I'm thinking, yeah, my butt ain't hurting as bad. But I'm going to run it longer, and I'll do a full review after probably a good, like, a week or 2 of how that's really doing. Hey, if you're new to the Clutch Trucker channel, please subscribe, please ring that bell, please like, please comment. I do respond to your comments. It might take a day or 2. I'm working, after all, but I do respond, all right? Thanks so much for tuning in. Got over 150 videos or more on this channel. Scroll down, see what you can find. There's lots of video cam stuff, lots of stuff about fixing a lot of things on your own, quick and dirty wire fixes, quick and dirty filter changes. Okay, just go check it out. There's tons of stuff on here. I do videos like every 2 to 3 days, for crying out loud. Thanks for tuning in. As always, sniff that magic YouTube fairy dust. Clutch out.